So apparently, according to certain lawmakers, one of which is Mike Lawler, according to certain lawmakers, if you don't support Israel's God-given, God-mandated right to kill 7,000 people in Gaza, 70% of whom are women and children, if you don't stand with their God-given right to take that fucking land they have coveted for decades, then you don't have the right to be a member of the fucking House. Elections are meaningless. Glorious Israel is the only litmus test that matters.
1 minute.
Thank you, Chairman. Women, children, babies.
Babies. Babies. Women, children, babies.
Slaughtered. The worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust.
The worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. 40 babies, beheading some of them at an Israeli kibbutz. By the way, Israel still has not confirmed that this ever happened. And the White House has not walked back their statement that Joe Biden didn't actually see any of the pictures of dead babies like he claimed he saw. Isn't it odd how this right-wing dude here is on the same fucking side as Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama? It's all about the babies.
Israel has a right to exist, a right to defend itself. We have members in this body that do not believe that.
If you call, how can you call slaughtering 70% of 7,000? How can you call slaughtering women and children well over 5,000 defending yourself? Women and children who had nothing to do with the October 7th attack on military and police targets in Israel. How can you call that defending yourself? You can't. No one can. Israel has a right to defend itself, a right to exist. Hamas recognized that right decades ago. If you don't believe me, look up the videos with Jimmy Carter talking about that. Not that long ago. Of course, Israel has a right to exist. And Israel does have a right to defend itself using military against military, not using military against women and children. What Israel is doing is they're trying to clear a section of Gaza so they can take it, so they can grab the land they have coveted. And I use that word on purpose. They have coveted for a very long fucking time. And it's politicians like this sick motherfucker who are the only fucking reason they can get away with it. Marjorie Taylor Greene, another despicable human being. You can find these yourself. I'm not going to post you a link to this shit. Marjorie Taylor Greene, another sick, despicable human being. Another sycophant. Another sycophant, apologist, collaborator with the Nazi Party of fucking Israel. Now let's just be 100% clear on what I mean by that. I'm not the first person to refer to the Likud party as a Nazi party of fucking Israel. They are, without a doubt, 100% the Nazi party of fucking Israel. And these people, these kinds of people, are the kinds of people who would have been called collaborators with the Nazis back in the day. Sorry, it's just a fucking fact. There is no justification for collective punishment of a population. There's no justification when we did it with Hiroshima and Nagasaki and Dresden and fucking, what was that city in, was it Panama? We destroyed fucking, it was a poverty fucking, infused fucking city. People were packed in there. We wanted to get rid of them, get them out of the way. So under, I think it was Bush, we launched military strikes on the civilian population, crowded into basically what was a refugee camp, massive refugee camp. It was collective punishment. That's what we do. We did that there was a case in I think it was Afghanistan. Some insurgents set off a fucking improvised explosive device, an IED, and it injured and almost killed a soldier from a neighboring base. And so the next night they came in at 3 o'clock in the morning with 3 blacked out helicopters. They laid waste to the entire neighboring fucking village that was nearby. And they did so because they wanted to send a message. They knew that village hadn't done that to their fucking brother in arms. They were sending a message to everybody else. They were sending a message to the insurgents who did it. You attack us for being an illegal occupier in your fucking land, and there's going to be a price to pay. That's the exact same thing that fucking Israel's doing. That's some straight up arch villain shit. When you look at novels and you look at fucking films, and that's some straight up arch villain shit. That's what the bad guys do. That's what we always say. The Nazis did this, and oh my God, Stalin did that. That's what the bad guys do. That's some Darth Vader shit. And that's exactly what Israel's doing. And that's exactly what these people are standing for. And anybody in support of this. 7,000 fucking people are dead. 70% of them are women and children. The only one who has beheaded any babies in this entire fucking conflict is Israel. And of course, if you really want to think about it, because the only reason they continue to do it is because they have the continued support of the United States, including Joe Biden vetoing a UN resolution 2 days ago. The only reason they can continue to do this is because they have our support. If they didn't have our support, they couldn't continue to do this. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I offer you, well, I've gotten rid of his video, but here's one. She is there's no question. This is not a guilt by association thing. She is deliberately and personally responsible for killing babies in Gaza. Of course, she doesn't give a shit because to her, they're not human. Here she's going to tell you why Tlaib Rashid should be kicked out of the U.S. House because she's committed treason. Treason for opposing Israel's brutal attack on civilians. She's committed treason.
The future must include lifting the blockade, ending the occupation, and dismantling the apartheid system that creates the suffocating, dehumanizing conditions that can lead to resistance.
Makes perfect sense to me. Makes perfect sense to me. If you stop with the occupation, if you go back to the June 1967 borders, you give Palestine their own country with all the rights that a country has, then this quote-unquote conflict will be over. That is a suggestion by Tlaib Rashid, whatever her name is. Rashida Tlaib. I got it backwards. That's a suggestion. She thinks it's treason for questioning glorious Israel in the United States.
Whereas Rashida Tlaib exhibited her hatred for America by reposting a message on October 12th, 2023, blaming America for allowing the deaths of Palestinian babies at the hands of Israel.
And what did I just fucking tell you? What did I just tell you? There was a UN Security Council resolution 2 days ago. Of course, there was a mass shooting to cover up this fact. That if it had been voted on by the UN Security Council, as everybody else voted for it, but the United States vetoed it, then Israel would have known there's going to be repercussions, serious repercussions, from the international community, not just the United States, but from the international community. And they would have had to rethink what they were about to do. Kill more fucking civilians and women and children in fucking Gaza. But as it turned out, they didn't have to, because the Biden administration vetoed it. And people like her, the apologists, the collaborators, they justify that. But in fact, the statement is 100% correct. Rashida Tlaib's statement is 100% correct. We are complicit in every single fucking death, period.
Whereas Rashida Tlaib led an insurrection at the United States Capitol complex on October 18th, 2023, which...
I forgot this. Remember when I covered the other day the fucking the insurrection, the Jewish insurrection in the halls of Congress? They had a demonstration. Jewish organizations and Jewish people had an organization organized to make a statement. They wanted a ceasefire. They were saying, don't do this shit in our name. All Jewish people are not in favor of what this animal fucking party, the Likud party, is doing to Gaza. They wanted it stopped, and they wanted the bloodshed stopped. They wanted the fucking dying kids stopped. They wanted it stopped, and they wanted the Congress to take action. This bitch is literally calling that the insurrection of 1/6 all over again, being led by treasonous scum who just happened to be Jewish.
Put members of Congress, their staffs, and Capitol visitors in danger by shutting down elevators, stairwells, and points of egress while obstructing official business in both the House of Representatives and the Senate, including a Senate Foreign Affairs Committee hearing. Whereas the insurrection led by Rashida Tlaib was organized by Jewish Voice for Peace, which the
Jewish Voice for Peace. The Anti-Defamation League, which is a terrorist organization and has been called a terrorist organization, says Jewish Voice for Peace is a terrorist organization. But they're not the only ones who were there.
Defamation League calls a radical anti-Israel activist group that advocates for a complete economic, cultural, and academic boycott of the state of Israel.
Yep,
and that believes Israeli policies and actions are motivated by deeply rooted Jewish racial chauvinism and religious supremacism. Whereas members of the Southern Poverty Law Center,
the Southern Poverty Law Center. The Southern Poverty Law Center is Jewish. This was a Jewish organized sit-in, a demonstration to stop the killing of fucking children. And this crazy bitch is saying it's treason and trying to put it on the same fucking on the same plateau as the insurrection of 1/6, which, by the way, she spent 3 fucking years saying wasn't an insurrection. I can't continue with this fucking psychotic sellout collaborator bitch. And again, I chose those words very carefully. This never happened. Babies. It never happened. But I've shown you pictures of and video of beheaded fucking Palestinian children who were killed. Right now we're looking at, according to this, 7,000. This was yesterday. It's over 7,000 now. It was under 7,000 then. Which makes sense if you look at the destruction in fucking Gaza. There's no question. And the kinds of weapons they're using. And we're allowing them to use. We're giving to them to use. For them to try the biggest land grab, the biggest single effort land grab in Palestine since 1948. They said it themselves at the start of this. It's going to be the second Nakba. They're going to drive more Palestinians out of fucking certain areas in fucking Gaza and take the northern section, northern quarter, northern third of fucking the Gaza Strip and hand it over to those Jewish developers. Post haste. Joe Biden said that the number 6,700 and something at the time was exaggerated. They didn't really do that. They didn't really kill him. So they released all the fucking names. They gave the sex, age, identity card number of each one of the victims. And they said, of course, 281 bodies had yet to be identified. They literally dismissed their fucking suffering. Take of this what you will. Alex Jones was sued by the parents of Sandy Hook for denying their suffering by going out there and saying there were no kids killed at Sandy Hook. That was 20 children. There are well over 3,000 children in Gaza who have been killed. And these people are doing the exact same thing, but it doesn't matter because those Sandy Hook families, those 20 matter a lot more than the 3,000 kids in Gaza. Why is that? Why is that? We did the same shit when we killed 1 million fucking Iraqis. And in the early stages of the Iraq War, the U.S.-Iraq War, the invasion, the illegal invasion and then occupation, we killed 1 million fucking Iraqis. A good number of them fucking children. Very few people gave a shit because they wanted that fucking oil. They wanted that cheap oil. They wanted the fucking boost in fucking Wall Street numbers. They wanted the stock market, the stock portfolio to rise. They don't give a shit. Madeleine Albright, famously, I think it was 1996, on 60 Minutes, was confronted and asked about the 500,000 Iraqi children who had died as a result of the sanctions, illegal by the way, put on fucking Iraq by the United States, asked if that was worth it while Saddam was still in power, by the way. And her response, yes, we think it was worth it. These people are fucking animals. They're monsters. They're vile subhumans. And religion means nothing. Religion doesn't fucking matter. I'm going to show you a video in a second with Richard Medhurst, and I know, don't fucking. But I'm going to show you a video in a few seconds with Richard Medhurst, and he's going to explain to you the same thing I've explained. That religion really doesn't factor into it. I mean, for the zealots, yeah. But the zealots, they're not the ones making the ones hopping up and down outside the fucking fences and screaming and yelling and applauding when someone bombs a fucking school or hospital in Gaza. Those are the zealots I'm talking about. It's a different class of zealot. The working class zealot. You know, the settler types, who, again, I told you, aren't really fucking Jewish. And they certainly aren't ultra-Orthodox. They're just there because they were losers in other fucking countries, and they found out, you know what, if I converted to fucking Judaism, I could go to Israel, and I can get me a piece of land. It's always about stealing somebody else's land, isn't it? So even for them, it's not about religion. And I've said this before to people in conversations. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene and that fucking, whatever his fucking name is, the babies guy. It's not really about religion for them either. Now I'm going to say something controversial. Oh my God, no, yep. It's not about religion for them. It's about power. They are sycophants to power. They will suck up to whoever has that power at the moment. And if it changes, man, they are going to turn on a fucking dime and go the other fucking way. If it wasn't Jewish people who owned the networks, Hollywood, the production companies, the banks that make up the central banking system, the privately owned central banking system. If it wasn't Jewish people who owned all of these things, the real power in Washington, D.C., BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan Chase, if it wasn't Jewish people that owned these things, but instead were Muslims. Of course, Muslims wouldn't own fucking banks like that because they don't believe in fucking interest. It's a sin for them. But let's just say, if there were Muslim people doing that, we would be on this, the United States would officially be on the side of fucking Gaza, and we'd be funneling weapons into Gaza, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and that other babies dude would be screeching about anybody who dared stand with fucking Israel at this time of war. They'd be calling people like that traitors, just like they're calling this congresswoman a traitor for standing with Palestine. How dare you stand with the fucking powerless? Don't you understand? Long time ago, when I first set up this, when I first set up my website, I started doing writing. I wrote an article called what the fuck was it? Prophets of the New... Jesus Christ, I can't remember. Prophets of the New Mammon Dawn. It was 2007, something like that. It's somewhere in if you could find my archives, you could find it. And I wrote about when I was much younger. And I was waiting tables at a place called the Berkeley Hotel in Richmond, Virginia. Was it Berkeley or was it the Jefferson? It might have been the Jefferson. No, it was Berkeley. And I was doing there was a conference. So, of course, they had to have us come out there. It was a thing where you served dinner, and it was an Amway conference. And so, I'm standing there in my tuxedo fucking shirt and my bow tie and my buttons that come down and my cufflinks. And at the end of the service, and they're going to do the talk, and out come the speakers. We had to stand alongside the wall in case anybody signaled us over and wanted a fucking martini or something, or some water or some more bread they can put in their fucking bags. You wouldn't believe how many of these fucking Amway people were stuffing fucking rolls in their goddamn pocketbooks. Jesus Christ. But out comes the dude, the big dude, the grand poopah, the head of the regional Amway thing. And there had been a couple of smaller people, in the food chain and the pyramid scheme of Amway speaking, and they all just... But then they announced the grand poopah of the regional fucking pyramid scheme thing. And he comes in. He hadn't even been with them. He came in specifically just to... He wasn't even going to eat with these peons. And he comes in. And I'm next to this big... And they're all round tables. And they'd all eaten and everything. And when he comes in and he's announced, oh, and they just come to their feet. And they're just all applauding. And so I'm standing there and I'm looking, and I'm watching, and I'm, 22-ish? And I'm looking around, and this woman who couldn't be more than 5 feet from me at a table, she notices the look on my face, and she goes, and she looks at me, and she's like, don't you know who he is? He's so rich. And she has this moment where she looks me in the eyes after she said he's so rich and explained why everyone is just enamored with this guy. And I could see the moment where she realized I wasn't her type. And she immediately turned it off and just went right back to him. And she never looked at me again the rest of the night. Disciples of the New Mammon Dawn? Something like that. You could probably find it. I'm sure Mammon Dawn isn't used very often. And other people took it from my website and posted it. You probably find it someplace. That's not to be dismissive of the efforts certain people have made, Jewish people and Christians and others have made to get to where they are. That's not a problem. That's not an issue for me. It's just simply a matter of record. There's a lot of Jewish people who support Zionism and Israel unconditionally in positions of power, real power, in the United States and in the West specifically. One of the reasons these Zionists hate Islam so much is because they dismiss and consider it a sin to charge glorious interest. And that is at the core of a bunch of the conflict here. It's always about fucking money. It's always about money. For Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's about money. For the guy with the babies, it's about money. These are collaborators. These are sycophants to power. Just like that woman who dismissed me like that when she realized that I was of a different fucking ilk than she was. These are sycophants to power. It's not about religion. And he's absolutely right. I'm going to share with you somebody who's also a sycophant to power. He is the son of one of the founders of Hamas. And he's got a special message for all you people who aren't Palestinians, and even those of you who are, who aren't from the Middle East, and even those of you who are. He's got a special message for you about the situation in Gaza. I want you to have a listen, because he's the kind of guy that would be right alongside Babies Dude and Marjorie Taylor Greene. And that is this dude. Pop collar, sleeves cut off and custom sewn. Living in the woods, apparently, in hiding. Let's have a listen to what Pop Collar here says. Yes, I called him Hamas sellout snitch. I should. His name is Mossab Hassan Youssef, and he is the son of one of the founders of Hamas, who, by the way, has disowned him. Let's have a listen to the special message from this sleazeball piece of shit.
There are a bunch of movements coming forward in the West, angry in the streets, protesting. Some call themselves pro-Palestine, some call themselves free Palestine. Others say end occupation. What occupation are you talking about? Do you mean end Israel and give Hamas what they want? Give Hamas weaponry, territory, soldiers, army, so they can mess more with the global security? Are you totally...
Notice what he said, so they can mess more with the global security. That's going to tie into what Medhurst is going to have to tell you in a few seconds. Have a listen.
Blind? How can't you see the things in common between the West and Israel? And how can't you see the violence and the brutality of Hamas movement? Or it's your hatred. You have nothing to do with Palestine. You're just projecting hatred and inflicting emotional pain on the Jewish people as they mourn a modern day Holocaust. Do you think this is how you help Palestine? There is no such a thing as Palestine. Palestine what?
There's no such a thing as Palestine. In less than 60 seconds, he's going to talk about Palestine as a state.
Yasser Arafat Palestine, PLO Palestine, PA Palestine, Hamas Palestine, Islamic Jihad Palestine. What Palestine are you protesting for? You have no idea what you're talking about. I am being emotional. I have the fucking right to be emotional. Because I speak on behalf of the children. As a Palestinian child.
As a Palestinian child. What Palestine? There's no such thing as Palestine. I'm a Palestinian child.
As a child of the land, I qualify to talk about the subject. But you have no idea what you're talking about. You've never been there. You did not live the pain of that land. So what are you protesting against or about? What is your problem? Let me be clear.
He's the worst actor I've ever seen.
This war will go the way we want it to go. Your opinion doesn't matter.
Will go the way we want it to go. Who is we? He just told you there's no such thing as Palestine. He's a Palestinian. He's a child of Palestine. And this war will go the way we want it to go. Do you know why he's famous? Because he's Palestinian? Because he lives in Palestine? Because he's the son of one of the founders of Hamas? No. This man is famous because as a young man, he wanted to be a fighter. He admired the fighters. And there are photographs and videos of him as a 10-year-old child standing up to IDF soldiers during the first Intifada. And as his father and his father's partner formed Hamas, he was proud. And he took a leadership role as a young man in striking back on behalf of people of Palestine and what he said doesn't exist, the concept of the free Palestine. But then he was caught and he was arrested and he spent time. He spent time in Palestinian prison, in an Israeli prison. And of course, the fact that he was the son, the eldest son of one of the founders of Hamas, along came Bet Shin, and they had a little discussion with him. And they convinced him that he needs to serve the interest of Israel, not Gaza. And so then, from 1997-ish to 2000-ish, when they were finally released on some kind of fucking hostage deal, negotiation deal, he went back and started informing. He was an operative for Mossad, Shin Bet, whatever it is, and Israel. He was a sellout. He was a snitch. You notice the A-frame building he's in and the cheap-ass fucking construction and the shitty-ass fucking Walmart fucking spiral staircase he's got in that shitty-ass fucking place he lives in. You see the trees behind him out the window? You don't have lush forests like that in fucking Gaza or even Israel. He now lives in the United States. He now lives in the United States because about a year before he had to escape Gaza, he was exposed for being a sellout and an agent working for the IDF. He sold out all sorts of fucking Gazans and Palestinians, resulting in them being captured and killed. And of course, in 2004, his father's partner, who founded Hamas, was killed in a rocket strike coming out of a fucking mosque. He told him what mosque he was in. And so he's responsible for that man's death. And he's responsible, allegedly, responsible for the civilians, the other Palestinians who were killed around him. He's a piece of shit. As if his popped collar and his fucking aviator glasses and his cut-off T-shirt so you can see his guns and his fucking bad acting doesn't tell you everything you need to know about what a piece of shit he was. And is. He converted to Christianity. He converted to Christianity so that it'd be easier for him to get into fucking the United States, but they were going to let him in anyway because he had served our interests. When he says, we will do whatever we want and the war will go the way we want it, we meaning the global West and, of course, glorious Israel. He's a sellout. He's a snitch. He's a coward. He's a traitor. That's the kind of people that Marjorie Taylor Greene and Mr. Babies would be glad to hang out with. He got a little bit of fame, a little bit of money by writing some book, had it ghostwritten for him, and told his fucking lies. And lots of lies. Lots and lots of lies. And then he went on fucking a tour and was saying all the right things. Whenever shit like this happens, they drag him out. This guy would know because he's the son of the guy who founded fucking Hamas. He's the real deal. He's a sleazebag scum sucker. He goes on 700 Club to make, money to buy whatever, I guess, sleeveless shirts and more aviator glasses. and I'm sure Axe body spray and hair replacement fucking surgery. They missed that one little square section. I guess they haven't got to that yet. Jesus. He goes on the 700 Club and does that shit with Pat Robertson and that evangelical shit. He's not a Christian. He's a liar. He's a fake. He's a scumbag. It's all a show to make money. That's it. He goes on there and denounces fucking Islam regularly, saying Islam should be, the Quran should be fucking illegal. Islam should be illegal in the United States. Remember that movie, V for Vendetta? When Stephen, the actor Stephen, what's his fucking name, the tall dude, was playing the gay guy who was a producer of the TV network, and she goes to his secret room, and he has a Quran. And that's why they end up taking him and killing him. Not because he had pictures of gay sex hanging up in his secret room, but because he had a Quran. That's the level. That's fiction. This guy's the real deal. And there are people out there who believe that. But again, it's not about religion. The guy pretends to be a Christian. He's not a fucking Muslim. He's not fucking Jewish. He pretends to be a Christian. That's all he cares about. That's all he cares about. There's a bunch of this information here you can find. I found a lot of it about how he got to where he was. He was captured. His fake conversion to Christianity. And then I wanted to read this to you. Yusuf co-authored autobiography, The Son of Hamas, a gripping account of terror, betrayal, political intrigue, and unthinkable choices, written with the assistance of Ron Bracken, was published in March of 2010. Yusuf's brother, Was, denounced the report about his brother's activity, saying it was full of lies, it's all lies. Was also revealed that the last contact between his family and Mossab, that was his name, took place more than a year before the news of his spying. Sheikh Hassan Yosef, Mossab's father, while in Israeli prison, disowned his son for spying for Israel. The Haaretz report on Yosef was described by Hamas MP Mushir al-Masri as psychological warfare being waged against the Palestinian people did not deserve a response. We go down here to even Shin Bet said that some elements of Yosef's story have been questioned. Former Shin Bet deputy chief Gideon Ursa described Yosef's claim to be too good to be true and stated that there are hundreds of collaborators like him. He's not unusual. He just decided to write a fucking book about it. And the conversion to Christianity narrative promoted by Yusuf in his book, publishers, remains unsubstantiated. Critics have alleged that Yusuf claimed he was Christian for a longer period of time in order to help secure asylum in the United States. However, he has since become an active figure in evangelical, non-denominational Christianity in America and has appeared on such programs as the 700 Club. At an End Times Prophecy conference in 2010, hosted by California-based evangelist Greg Laurie, Yosef told the crowd in attendance that Islam is the biggest lie in human history, and he further suggested that at the conference that he was surprised the Quran is still legal in the United States. He admitted at one time he's being paid by Israel, the United States, Palestinian Authority, and Hamas all at the same time, and claims Islam on the whole, as a whole, is comparable to Nazism. That's this sleazeball piece of shit. I told you about the trees, the A-frame. Here's some more trees. Apparently tall. This guy's living in the United States in hiding. That's how proud he is of what he has done with his life, that he has to spend all his time hiding. because he is a sellout, a coward, a traitor. He has been disowned by his people, disowned by his family. Those are the kinds of fucking people who stand on the side of Israel. In the face of 7,000 dead Palestinians. And they continue to defend these attacks. I told you, I don't like him.
I don't think people have any idea what's really happening in Gaza. And
I told you I don't like him. I have good reason to not like him. He used to wear this thing all the time until people like myself called him out for it. He was talking about whatever situation he was talking about, but he always wore it. It was part of his costume. He thought it gave him street cred. Until eventually, I guess enough people saying enough shit about it, he stopped wearing it. But of course, he's wearing it now. That's fine. I, too, am wearing one to show my solidarity with the Palestinian people. He's going to talk about something in terms of, this is not about religious ideology. Well, with one exception. He's going to say this is about fucking money, this is about power, this is about control, this is about thwarting the fucking Silk Road Alliance, the Belt and Road Alliance, which goes back to the Belt and Road Initiative, which goes back to the Silk Road Alliance. But in so much that he's talking about that, he's right. However, there are religious connotations to this. Sharia law prohibits the very fucking mechanism that allows the individuals who run this country to do so, to amass vast amounts of wealth and power behind that wealth. And that is the mechanism of interest. When they signed off all those years ago, when they signed off on the central bank system being privately owned banks, making money out of thin air and then loaning it to the fucking government at interest, it empowered a mechanism that would make them super wealthy and give them absolute control. The first thing we did when we took Iraq was privatize this central bank system. It is not allowed. Interest is not allowed in Sharia law. And that is the very fucking reason. We live in the very fucking reason. All those years ago in 2008 and late 2007 and 2008 when the fucking markets crashed and all of that, and then leading up to Occupy, even the mainstream media had to start wondering, do we all work for the banks? And is that really a bad thing that we do? When they realized that the banks have all of this fucking money and all of this fucking power. And the whole fucking thing, the whole crash of 2006 was designed so that they could funnel it all upward. The TARP bailouts gave select large fucking institutions bailouts so they could use that money to buy up the smaller people and consolidate power in the financial industry. And everyone knew that. Everyone came to understand that. Even mainstream fucking media were asking the question, oh my God, do we all work for the banksters? Yes. What gave them that power? And why is it that Sharia law is so hated by Zionists and Christian collaborators?
Why it is happening. A few weeks ago, right before this war in Gaza ignites, Netanyahu goes to the United Nations General Assembly and he holds up this map and declares his plan for a new Middle East. And people are going, what is this stupid line this guy's drawing with a red marker? What it is an economic corridor that stretches all the way from India to the United Arab Emirates, into Saudi Arabia, into Jordan, Israel, and then finally to the entire European continent. I mean, the United States at this point, seeing their influence starting to fade, seeing the relevance of the dollar recede after they stole $300 billion from Russia. You have all these spooks in Washington and Tel Aviv, running around desperately trying to counter BRICS and counter China's new Silk Road. And this is their answer. This is a rival to the new Silk Road. Remember, the ancient Silk Road is the largest, most important trade route in human history. This thing is enormous. It stretches all the way from China to Syria to the Mediterranean Sea. The Chinese know how important this thing is and they want to revive it. It is the future of world economics, trade, and politics. Within the span of a few weeks, Iran and Iraq have signed a railway deal. So now you have a rail link for the new Silk Road. And President Assad of Syria, who the West have been trying to isolate for over a decade, is now visiting China, the world's largest economy, and signing a strategic partnership. This is pivotal. So now the new Silk Road has rail access all the way to the Mediterranean Sea through Syria's port in Latakia. So not just land, but maritime trade. This is crucial. And as enormous and important as all of this is just one aspect. This is just one aspect. You still have the gas. How can we talk about the Middle East without talking about gas and oil?
Okay. Go back to what he said. I think I turned it off. I did. Go back to what he said. He said Gaza's standing in the way of the global fucking progress. What progress was he talking about? He's talking exactly about that. He's talking exactly about what Richard Medhurst was saying. They have a competing fucking problem. They have a competing fucking interest. Russia, China, the BRICS countries, they have a plan. The plan is very simple. It's a multipolar world order, which basically means you have a country, you run your country the way you want to run your country. If you want to do business with us on specific things, we'll have contracts, we'll have unilateral fucking, bilateral fucking agreements, just us, country to country, and we'll work that out. Just like you would with anybody else. Just like you would with as an individual business owner with another individual business owner. You run your country the way you want to run your country. We're not going to tell you how to do that. We'll do business. And that is much preferable than the unipolar system that the United States and Israel and World Economic Forum and Great Britain and fucking the European Union and France and Spain, they're all on board with. The free marketeers who don't want a free market, don't want to look at the world as a free market, a group of individual businesses, countries with their own borders and their own laws, running their own businesses. No, they don't want that. The free marketeers want one ring to rule them all. One unelected board to make all the decisions and dictate all the things that happen in this country, and that country, and your country, and my country. That's what they want. Total, absolute power being handled by the heads of big multinational corporations and financial institutions and banks. That's the conflict. When he's going to tell you it's got nothing to do with religion, he's right in that respect. However, I would argue that there's one religion involved in this discussion where the kinds of people who have amassed all of this power wouldn't have been able to fucking amass all of this power. And honestly, the world would be a more equitable place. That's what I got for you today. I thought I would share that son of fucking Hamas jackass. Jesus Christ. What a fucking douchebag. It's fitting that he's living in the woods someplace hiding. He couldn't live obviously couldn't live in Palestine. He couldn't live in Israel because he knows what would happen to him. So, of course, he comes to the glorious United States like so many terrorists do, so many snitches, so many traitors, so many cowards. from other countries come here, not immigrants, but specifically people who have sold out their own people to the almighty dollar. Disciples of the new Mammon dawn. They have to come here and hide in the woods and pretend to be Christians to get that paycheck going on the 700 Club. Those are the kinds of people the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world of this country are standing with. And I'll tell you something else, too. If you want to talk about traitors, anybody who suggests that you can't be an elected member of Congress if you don't swear allegiance to some foreign nation, that makes you a traitor. Our collaboration with Israel has not benefited this country, and it's not going to benefit this country. The more children die in Gaza. The rest of the world is watching. The rest of the world is watching. People are already, nation states are already withdrawing their fucking trade deals with Israel and withdrawing relations with Israel. They will do the same to us. So this collaboration of ours with Nazi fucking Likudniks in Israel is hurting the United States, not helping us. Currently, it's hurting the United States. So if you put your allegiance to a foreign nation above that of this nation, if you adhere to the America First fucking philosophy, then you have to understand that the real traitors are Marjorie Taylor Greene and the baby's dude. I forget his name, whatever his fucking name is. And that's just a fucking fact. I thank you for your time.